Right, I'm just going to mute my mic for now. I can see two viewers joining on right now. There's a chat functionality on the top left of this Hangouts window. Can you try and see if you can leave a message in the chat window, please? Great. We're just waiting for a few more minutes for people to come on live, and then we should get going. Okay. I think we should start, Talia. I think what would be best is just to say welcome to everyone joining us on this bonus session for Conversion World. Conversion World officially starts tomorrow, and it's for 3 days. But we've had a few bonus sessions. I hosted one earlier on QA, how to QA or A/B test, and this one is a session about CRO strategy from Talia Wolf from conversionaire.com. Welcome, Talia.
Hi guys, hi everyone. Thank you for logging on your Sunday to listen to me chat about CRO strategy. Really happy to be here today.
Talia, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into CRO?
Great question. How did I get into CRO? So I started probably, I'd say, around 5 years ago when I didn't really know the words. You know, people call it conversion optimization now, but back then there wasn't really a term for it. And I just I was working at a social media and PR company, and I was kind of working with different clients and thinking about how to increase their engagement and work on their different KPIs. And at my spare time, I was also advising for different startup companies and helping them build their marketing strategy. So I think it was at that point when I started realizing that people weren't focusing on the right thing, and we were missing a really crucial part of the whole marketing, especially when it came to social media, where everyone was kind of really focused on engagement and likes and comments, but not really, you know, the bottom line of how much revenue are you actually seeing from these platforms. And that's where I kind of started getting into it. And I started kind of helping my clients and kind of talking to them about optimizing their landing pages and stuff like that before I really understood what it was I was going at. And then I started Conversionaire with my partners about 3 years ago. And that has been an amazing ride, because we've been basically helping different companies all over the world really optimize their funnels and kind of find the right way to increase their KPIs and revenues. Using strategic testing and really being able to understand the results of their tests, because that's one of the most missing part right now of conversion optimization. Yeah, so that's a bit about me. Other than that, I'm a skydiver, and that's about it.
Cool. So today you're going to talk to us about CRO strategy. So I've seen a lot of times people come up with these quick fire tactics and what you can do to improve your conversions. So what you're trying to tell us today is ignore that and come up with a more structured process. Is that correct?
Well, I think one of the most important things I'm going to try and talk about today is that most of the world today is going towards a testing elements, a behavioral part of really kind of testing call to action buttons versus call to action buttons, and maybe certain titles versus titles, but it's very hard to really learn from these tests. And I think one of the most crucial parts of conversion optimization that's constantly being forgotten is that it's not about that one test and increasing that KPI. It's about being able to really learn from your tests and then apply the findings to your entire business funnel, whether it's customer service or sales or business development and anything. Because real testing, if you test the right way, you can really learn a lot about your customers. And that's what's really missing today, that people are really looking at testing elements. And I'm going to get into it a bit with my presentation and explain what I mean about that and what's missing exactly.
Sure, that sounds really interesting. We have quite a few people joining us. The presentation hasn't started just yet, but it will in a second once I find this, which is I'll leave you to get on with it, Talia. There we go. Right, I'm gonna mute myself. I'm gonna hide myself. I'll leave the presentation to you now.
Okay, so just let me know if you can see the presentation, because I can't see anything.
Yes, I can see it. I can see the screen with the slides on it.
Again?
You know, the edit slides.
Oh, hold on. Hold on. Let's try this again. Okay, so there's the screen with the slides, and now, how about now?
Bingo. There we go. Yeah,
Yes.
I can see it now. Cool.
Awesome.
Let's go.
1 second. Okay, so right. So as I said, we're going to be talking about conversion optimization in general, and I'm going to try and go over some numbers and statistics that are currently relevant, and also maybe explain why at Conversioner we combine psychology, consumer psychology, with user data and behavioral analytics, and show you a few case studies on how to do it yourself. So I have explained a bit about myself, but so I'm the founder and CEO of Conversioner. You can see me there, over there on the left. I'm a skydiver through and through. That's what I do on my weekends, and I really enjoy it. And I write for different blogs, and I also am a keynote speaker, so I speak at different conversion conferences and marketing conferences, and really try and talk about the whole idea of behavioral and emotional CRO. And please follow me and tweet to me at TaliaGW. I'm always happy to answer your questions and get into a conversation, which I love doing that, about conversion optimization. So a bit more about Conversioner. So we basically focus on mobile, e-commerce optimization, user flow, registration forms, landing pages, and really kind of work on the entire funnel. And what we're going to be starting with today is a few statistics. So I think one of the most interesting statistics was by Brian Eisenberg a few years ago, which is probably and is still relevant till today, that about for every $92 spent acquiring customers, only $1 is spent on converting them, which is huge because people spend so much time on optimizing their ads and really kind of putting a lot of emphasis on that. But then when it comes to converting the customers and maybe optimizing their landing page, they don't do anything about that. Another really interesting statistic that I've found lately is that 63% of marketers optimize websites based on intuition. And that actually coincides with something that Adobe was speaking about last year, that there were 42% of marketers that they questioned that said that the hardest part of testing is understanding the results of their tests. And that kind of brings me back to, what I said at the beginning, which is people don't really know how to test and what to test, which brings them to, optimize based on their intuition, but doesn't necessarily mean that the changes that they make are going to have a real impact. Another thing is that 73% of companies have no idea why consumers abandon their shopping carts, which is quite alarming. And the last piece of kind of data is going to be that poor A/B testing methodologies are costing online retailers about $13 billion a year in lost revenue, which is just an outstanding number. And this is all just because people still don't really know what to test, how to analyze the results. And this is what people usually test. So we were talking about behavioral testing before. And this is when you basically take your landing page, for example, you duplicate it and you change a certain element about it. So let's say you change your call to action button from orange to green, or you change your title. And if I go back to kind of the call to action buttons, then the orange button wins. It has 23% increase in conversion, which is great, but I mean, what does that mean? So what are you supposed to do now? Should you change your entire call to action buttons on the site to orange? Does that mean that your customers like orange better? And more importantly, I mean, you don't know why it worked and you don't know what to test next. And as I was saying before, the most important part of conversion optimization is to be able to understand your results and scale them. So a little bit about the process that we go through at Conversioner. I'm going to show you how we do it, which is basically we dig into the behavioral research, which is a lot about the actual behavior, what users are doing, where they're clicking, where they're going to. You can use great heat maps. You can use Google Analytics for it, Mixpanel, Kissmetrics, and really see what users are doing on your website and track the right results, and really kind of understand where people are going to. The next step we do is an emotional research, which is really when we kind of identify who our customer is and what are they looking for. Now, I'm not talking about the features and the pricing, because people do not buy products because of their features or price. They buy them because of the emotional impact that they get. They're buying better versions of themselves. So basically, we try and look into what are those emotional triggers. What are people trying to feel? Do they want to feel safe? Do they want to feel part of a community? Do they want to feel that they're better than others? There are so many different emotional triggers, and sometimes there's a few of them. So we try and locate those, and we combine those two parts of the research into design, and then we start A/B testing. So then when we actually test, we don't test a call to action button versus a call to action button. We test an hypothesis. Each landing page is completely different than another. It's got different color, different structure, different messaging. And then when a test wins or loses, I'm able to look at it and say, okay, this strategy worked, this strategy didn't, and here's what I need to do next. And that's kind of our real kind of process that we go through, and it's an ongoing one. So once we analyze the test results, we go back to behavioral research, we go back to emotional research, and so on. So this is a fantastic slide, which I love, which I found on Intercom, but I know it's not by them. I will let you know who actually created this, which talks about exactly what I just said, that people are not buying your product, they're buying better versions of themselves. So the client is on your left, you've got the product that you're selling, and together, when your client buys your product or signs up to your service, they become a better version of themselves. So let's take a look at a few case studies and try to understand why we did the stuff we did, what were the results, and how it works. This is a landing page for a B2C company, which focuses mainly on helping you create birthday cards and invitations for your events. And as you can see, it's actually a very good landing page because it has a very large call to action button. It's in contrast to the other colors. It's got all the features on it. It's got a few testimonials on it. And it really has everything that a landing page should have. But one of the things that we noticed when we started our test is that the people who are actually creating these invitations are people who really cared about the event itself. They want to feel with this birthday card and with this invitation that it's the opening ceremony of their event. So when they send it, when they're sending it to their friends, it says something about them and it says something about their party. So by saying that you have personalized birthday cards in minutes is nice, but it's more of a feature, so you can do it in a few minutes, but what is the emotional value? So we have a call to action that says it's free, download now, and we have the different kind of screenshots showing you what's in the product, but you don't really get the essence of what this kind of product, how it's going to change your life. And that's when we decided to create this landing page. So as you can see, it's quite different than the original. And what we wanted to really emphasize here is a few things. So one of them was the fact that sending an invitation is setting the party. So it's treat guests, set the party scene, stand out. And it's not about download the product, it's about getting started. And the whole visual and the colors were meant to send freshness and green and show you that the end result is going to be a fantastic party. And really kind of focus you about yourself and not about the product. So we don't have endless options and here are all our features, but it's about you. And that was kind of an interesting test because we really tried to emphasize the importance of the user. And you can see, I mean, I'm only showing you the top part of the landing page right here. We also added a lot of information below the fold, which was more with testimonials, and it had a lot of more information. But to get people started and to really kind of give them the gist, we created the top part of the landing page with this dog and the picnic basket, and really kind of set the tone to the landing page and to the product. So I want to discuss what usually happens at a conversion optimization test. What you usually see is that if you optimize one part of the funnel, then you'll see an increase in certain parts of the funnel. So this company's funnel was download, then you register, and then you pay. So what you usually see if you do a regular test, which is an element test, like if we change the call to action button, or if we change the copy, we probably see an increase in the downloads, and then another increase in registrations, and the paying users would still have an increase, but a very minor one, as opposed to the downloads, for example. But by testing emotionally and by adding the USP and kind of a more emotional part to it, what we saw is actually the complete difference. So we saw a 12% increase in downloads, an 18% increase in registrations, and 42% increase in paying users. So the first message, those first 3 seconds where a person got to see a message and realized what's in it for them, really set the tone for the entire funnel. Because once they were in, they understood what's in it for them, and they were ready for it emotionally. Our next case study we're going to look at is a case study for Wall Monkeys, which is a fantastic website that helps you kind of design your own decals, which you can stick on your walls and kind of really change the way your home looks like, which is really, really cool. And this is the original homepage. And we did 2 things. I mean, I spoke about it before, about our research and how we actually do it. So the first thing that we did is really kind of look into heat maps. We use Hotjar, which I'll be talking about soon. But we tried to understand what people were clicking on and where they were going to. So as you can see, most of the people, the majority of the people, were looking, starting their shopping experience at the search bar, which was really interesting. Another thing that we noticed, and you can see by the arrows here, is that a lot of people were clicking on these type of icons. So we noticed a few things. One of them, as I said, most of the people were starting with their in the search. Most of the people were clicking on the bullets. And one of the things that we also noticed is there was a major drop on the homepage. So there was a lot of people coming into the homepage, but not a lot of people were actually completing their purchase. And another thing that was more important, which was more on the emotional side, is that people didn't really get an emotional USP. So it was all about browse the world's finest works of art. So it's about, again, it's about the product. And you have this man who's standing there who has virtually nothing to do about the product. And you have basically, actually, this was a slider, so it kind of turned and you can see different images, but they were all the same. They were all about the actual decals. And nothing was actually about the customer himself. So the first thing we wanted to do was obviously first address the behavior of the customers, and that was to help them search better. And the other part was to create a more emotional experience. So the first variation that we created was this variation. And it was kind of interesting because one of the things that we did, so as you can see, we definitely enlarged the search bar and really put it in a more prominent area to help people really start their search. But another thing that we did is we put the whole homepage in a setting of a home, and we showed people what it means to actually be in a home and have it around, you know, cats, and which is, and obviously cats rule the internet. So the whole kind of experience of that, with the more clean colors and the more emotional USP of saying choose from you know, the vast collection, was really an entire way of us to help them start their shopping experience and promote a more emotional process. And we also added the shop now button, and that was kind of to see what was going to work better. Would people click on a shop now button, or would they start searching? So the first test, we did see an increase in 27% in revenues, which is really nice. And one of the things that we noticed is, again, 90% of the people were using the search bar, and less people were using the shop now button, which made us basically change the design to this. So this is the current design you can see on the live website right now, where we have the search bar right in the middle. And actually, we've changed the title since, which is more about changing your home. But what we did, as you can see, is kind of center the whole search bar. And obviously what we saw is that the cats worked very, very well. And just by kind of adding that, moving things around, creating the different colors and giving it a more clean and slick look, we were able to increase revenues by 500%. So again, you always show the best case studies in presentations. But what I really wanted to emphasize here is the change from a more businessy, dark-looking website, which was more about the product, to a more emotional website. Another case study we can look at is this e-commerce shop that basically sells prom dresses. When we did our research, we realized one thing that was really interesting is that we had two different targeted audiences. We had the mothers that were buying and paying, and we had the daughters that were choosing the dresses. So we needed to create a shopping experience that was really for both of them, for the daughters to feel like, okay, this place has the best dresses for us, but for the mothers to feel safe to buy. So we created two variations. This was the first variation, which I'm going to show you. And you can see that what we've done is we've, first of all, changed the entire color theme of the page and really kind of took it to a more pink and more emotional way. And the other thing that we did is change the usability of the site. So we kind of moved things around. The whole the top part of the page, which had all the text, was moved to the bottom of the page, so we don't harm the SEO, but we give it more emphasis, so there was more room to show the actual products above the fold. We changed the whole way a person can view the images themselves, and we added a way to kind of screen through the dresses quickly. This variation showed an increase of 87% in purchases and a 117% increase in revenue. So basically people were buying more products, and we saw a larger increase in revenues. And again, it's the changes that are together. So it's both the emotional part and the usability of it. So the next one I'm going to show you is just a B2B case study, which is for a commission calculation company, which is very interesting to watch. And as you can see, they're talking about the #1 solution for commission calculation. They have all their clients kind of at the bottom with a nice form to fill in. And what we did is this. So it's not about the #1 solution for commission calculation. That's the subtitle. What it's about is leading your team to success. So using this product will help you lead your team to success. And we kind of changed the whole way people viewed this landing page. And we saw a 43% increase in leads and a 98% increase in revenues. So there's a few more case studies we can look at, but I want to see if maybe, I think I've shown quite a few case studies, and I would like to maybe turn to you guys and see if you have any questions that I can kind of answer. And also maybe give you a few tools that I've been using and give you a more clear view of how we actually work. So, yeah.
Brilliant. So Talia, let's do it this way. So we've got a Slack group running right now. Quite a few of the attendees hopefully have access to that Slack group. I can't see anyone leaving any messages in the group chat, so I don't want to rely solely on that. So if you're watching this, head over to the Slack group and leave a question. Now, the person with the best will win Chris Goward's You Should Test That book, okay? So whoever's attending the session, best question. You can pick it, Talia. The person who
can I pick
the
myself?
pressure's all on you. So you can pick the winner, but head over to Slack right now and leave a question. So in the meantime, we can get talking whilst we wait for people to start replying over there. In your opinion, so I've seen this happen quite often, is people, when they brainstorm ideas, yes, they look at data as well, in a haphazard way, but they tend to pick up these random ideas from case studies. So, hopefully people aren't just looking at your case studies and saying, yeah, let's go and change the search bar. And they rush out to make these changes. What is the biggest cause of that? Is it the conversion hype, or is it the fact that people don't look at testing as analyzing data?
I think at the end of the day, people really kind of want to go on best practices because it's the easiest thing. And I can understand that you get a lot of ideas on what to test for yourself. And obviously when people are all around, promoting these best practices, it's fantastic. And I'm not saying not to use best practices, because as I said, it gives you a lot of ideas. But just because it's someone else's best practice doesn't actually mean it's going to work for you. So I've seen a lot of companies that take a best practice and they don't test it. So I think it's very good to go and see, okay, I can see that Talia did this in this test, so they enhanced the search bar for this company. Maybe I should do it for myself. But you should test that. So take all the best practices, take all the case studies that you can find, and see if they actually apply for your strategy, for your clients. Because at the end of the day, people don't really care about you and about your product. What they care about is what's in it for them. So you can enhance a search, the search button, and help people search more, but maybe that's not what they want to do.
Cool.
So it really is a combination of understanding who your customers are, what do they want, and how can you help them achieve their goals.
Okay, so we're waiting for questions to come across. I can see a few people typing over there, so that's a good thing. But let's bring this to the CRO side of things. So obviously we're trying to optimize the client's website, but when we as CROs, whether that's as consultants or agencies or in-house teams, we come up with these big list of ideas. What's the best way that you think of sifting through these ideas and picking out the ones you should go with? How do you deal with that right now?
Well, I think having a lot of ideas is fantastic because, as you know, testing is never ending. So I definitely list everything. We have a large team here and we all have our own opinions and our own ideas of what's going to work. So again, it's all about data. You have so many tools today that can help you decide what to test, whether it's Google Analytics or Kissmetrics or Mixpanel, and whether it's heat maps and recording sessions that you can really see what people are doing. So in order to first choose what you're going to test, you first have to choose where you're going to test within the funnel. And that's probably the first thing that I do. Really analyze where's the best place for me to start optimizing. And then what usually people do is they go straight to the checkout or the last part, just the registration form. But what we found is that you really want to make an impact where you can make an impact. So not too many people get to the registration part, not too many people get to the checkout, which is why you really want to see how much impact you can make on the top of the funnel. And I think once you kind of find the right place to start your test, then you can start thinking about, okay, what are my goals? So your goal can be to register people. Your goal can be to hire, to get people to fill out a form, to download your white paper, or to even buy something. And once you realize the goal and you kind of understand who your customer is, you can start finding what would be the best thing to test. So as you said, there's a lot of people who come up with a lot of ideas. You can't test everything at the same time, obviously, and you want to be able to test things that you can understand. As I said, the most important part of the test is actually the end part where you can understand the results and do something with them. So I would definitely suggest making a list of all the things that you think you need to start testing and group them together, see what works best right now, and then take it from there.
Okay. So I think we've got a few questions coming through. The first one is from Fiorenza. She says, "Hey Talia, this is about strategy. If you were to start an A/B test on a landing page, would you rather start A, from two similar versions with a small difference, or B, from two wildly different versions and work your way from there?"
I think it really depends. There's no one answer to that. I'm sorry, this is going to be the answer every time for every question you ask. There is no one ultimate answer to this. It depends a lot on the amount of traffic that you have and on the tools that you're going to be testing with. When you test, there's a lot of development that needs to be done. And if you're using VWO Optimizely, it's much easier because you can make these quick changes and probably get the results that you want pretty quickly. But as I said, the problem with testing minor things on a landing page is that it's really hard to understand the results. So I don't usually recommend to wildly change the entire design, but I would make something in the middle. I wouldn't just change one or two elements, but I try to first think of a strategy. What am I changing? So not thinking about a landing page as elements, as here's my call to action button, here's my copy, here's my hero image, but as an entire strategy. What is my landing page doing right now? What is its goal? What happens to a user that comes on right now? And what is the experience that I want to create? So right now they're going through a specific experience. What other experience can I create for them that might increase their conversion and make them happier? So you won't completely redesign the whole site, but you might find you'll make additional changes more relevant that will give you some more significant data than just changing the call to action button. So it's kind of in the middle. Don't go for a disruptive change because you might not have the resources for it, or if you have the resources for it, you might have a hard time analyzing the results. But do something that is extreme. Do something that's different. Do something that actually gives you results and allows you to understand them and scale up.
Great. I think she replied there saying, I figured it depends would be the answer.
Yeah, definitely. It always depends, and it always depends on the type of customers that you have. Obviously, people are so different, and your customers want one thing and the other want another. So you really have to address it according to your customers. And I think that is the goal of everything at the end of the day, to really understand your customer, because if you can provide a better experience for them, your conversions would increase anyway.
Mm-hmm. So the next question comes from Stefania. She says, "I have a question, Talia. What does emotional research consist of practically? How do you measure emotions?"
Cool. Okay. How do you measure emotions? You can't really measure emotion, not yet. But what does it consist of? So when we kind of dig into our research, what we do a few things. We do persona marketing. So we kind of dig into the different personas of our customers and try to understand who they are. So for those of you who haven't yet started doing persona marketing, you actually choose 2 or 3 different typical customers and you give them a name and a hobby and a job, and you really kind of define who they are. And it's not by defining them through Google Analytics, their age, or what country they're from. It's defining who they actually are. What TV shows do they watch? Who is their favorite actor? How many kids do they have? Are they happy? Are they sad? What are they doing on their everyday life? And by that, we get to know our customers better. So obviously, this is all kind of to create the personas is a lot of work, and you need to work with everyone. You need to work with your customer service, and you need to work with your sales, and you need to really kind of address different points within the funnel of everyone in your business. And you also need to maybe do some surveys and ask people questions. And at the end of the day, you never really know what the emotional triggers are until you start testing them. So you come up with an hypothesis, and you say, okay, why do people buy my product? If I'm Apple, for example, I wish, why why do people buy my products? So a lot of people would say, well, we buy Apple products because, you know, they're better than PC. And I am an entire Apple girl. Everything I have is a Mac, an iPhone, a tablet, whatever. But to be honest, the reason that people buy Apple products is because when you buy an Apple product, you're a little better than others, and it gives you an idea and it gives you a feeling that you are more interesting, more intellectual, maybe less technologically challenged, and maybe a little better than other people using PCs. Now, no one told you this. No one says this. Nothing in Apple's brand says, you know, anyone who doesn't use Apple is an idiot. But Apple has managed to kind of brand themselves around prestige and really kind of make you feel that using their products says something about you and who you are. And that's what you want to try and figure out. What does your product say to people? How does it make people feel? And again, it's testing. I never know. I can say that my product, when people want to buy a product, they might want to feel safe. They might want to feel loved. They want to feel part of a community. They want to feel better than others. They want to feel the rush and excitement. There's so many things. So what I usually tell people, and I've been going on and on about this question, sorry, but what I usually tell people is to ask yourselves, why did you create this product at the first point? What was the reason you created? What was the problem? What was the issue that you had that made you create this product, that got you into this product? What were you trying to solve? And I think that usually helps people kind of go back to, okay, this was the problem I was trying to solve. Why? What was I feeling? And it's, as I said, it's ongoing and it's testing, and you never know. But that's kind of the process that you go through.
Okay, I think just to add to that as well, I think what certain companies miss is they fail to identify who their main customer is as well sometimes. I remember working on a software as a service startup, and they were trying to target their software at software engineers, developers. But when we ran a survey on the website, we found out it wasn't actually the engineers or the developers coming to the site. It was mainly their managers or the stakeholders within that company who were trying to make that decision. So, you know, the entire copy then changes to match that persona. So I think for the first step, you need to really understand who is actually visiting your site, who actually comes to your site, because you could try and you know, optimize your site to convert your supposed audience, but if you're not making the site for the people actually visiting your site, then you could waste a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we found with the prom dresses, that, you know, the entire site was kind of directed towards teenagers, but then when we did our research, we were like, okay, the teenagers are, you know, looking for the dresses, but the real people that are on the site are the mothers, and they're the ones that have to take out the credit card and pay. And that's where you have to kind of understand who the customer is. And I think once you really understand who the customer is, you can start creating a better experience for them.
Sure. So the next question comes from Sephora. She says, "Would you be would it be amazing if you could share your slides?" I'm assuming you can share the slides. Is that correct?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay, cool. So the slides will be shared. The video will be there. Obviously, it'll be backed up on YouTube. So she has a question regarding the analysis process. Once you've had the behavioral analysis, how do you translate and transform it into an emotional look of the website?
I think that's a little like what I just answered, but I'll try and give it another angle.
Okay.
So once we've done the behavioral kind of research, sorry, I'm right on the street and everyone's driving around and hooting. So once you do the actual research and you look both at the data and the emotional part, it's pretty easy to come up with an hypothesis and what to do. Because if you look at the heat maps, and if I show you again, I don't know if you all saw the heat map for more monkeys. But you could see how so many people were on the actual search bar and so many people were clicking on irrelevant stuff. And sometimes it's the most easiest things and the quickest things you can fix, but you're focusing on other stuff. So the easiest way to kind of start by knowing what to test and what to change is by really looking at heat maps. And as I said, Hotjar is probably one of my favorite tools right now because it really combines a lot of things together. It also has the session recordings, it has heat maps, you can run surveys through it, and it really is like an all-in-one kind of analysis tool. And it helps you understand what customers are doing on your website. So once we've kind of looked into that behavioral part and we know what needs addressing, we now need to decide what to do about it. And that's where the emotional part comes in, because if a website says we're the #1 solution for something, then you've got to ask yourself, I mean, is this what people care about? And then if you have a specific saying and a specific USP, you need to ask yourself, what is your value? So what are you actually selling? And then when I know what I'm selling, and I'm not selling the features, I'm selling a specific emotion, I'm selling safety because these people want to feel safe by using this product, I know how to create safety within a landing page. Now, these are all best practices. I test stuff. I never know until I start testing and see the results what works better and what doesn't. But there are, of course, best practices, and I can say, well, you know, I use an image to direct attention towards a call to action, and I make sure that the image complements the USP. So a lot of times, basically, our 50% of our brain goes towards imagery. Sorry, I think it's almost 60. 60% of our brains are geared towards imagery, meaning the first thing that people see is an image. So the image on your site has a huge impact on your conversion. And if you can use that image to create an emotion and to get people to start using your tool or your service or product. So what I do is I use my image in 2 different ways. One is I try to project an emotion in my USP. And the other is I use it to direct user attention. You always want to use your image and any elements around the call to action button towards the call to action button, so people are kind of really looking towards that thing. So you can see a ton of case studies about, you know, having an image that's staring at you or an image that's looking at the call to action button or doing this, and the difference in conversion optimization in the conversion rate. So again, it's a combination of knowing where you want to test, who your audience is, and then trying to build a different hypothesis and testing it.
Cool. The last question comes from Bogdan. He says, where do these ideas come from? So you've touched on this before, but where do these ideas come from? Do you do a lot of customer interviews and pick their description of the service or the product and make it better?
So that is a technique that Joanna Wiebe uses. She is an amazing copywriter from Copy Hackers, and that is her #1 strategy. Don't make up stuff. Listen to your customers, see how they view your product, and use that and kind of optimize that. So that's a fantastic strategy, and we do that. So not everyone has, you know, the money to run research now and surveys on your website and kind of reach out to user testing and stuff. But you can have live chat. You can have calls with people. You can have an exit intent on your website. You can use inbound marketing and newsletters to get to know your customers better. And nothing beats that. Nothing beats talking to a customer and understanding how they view your website. And the #1 thing that I love to do, and we recently redesigned our entire website on conversion, and that was like one of the hardest things that I had to do because it's so much easier doing it for other people than for yourself. And one of the things that I did is I went up to people who have nothing to do with conversion optimization or online marketing, and I asked them to go on my website and tell me what I do. And the first variations, I got people saying really weird stuff. It had nothing to do with what we were doing. And it really gave me an indication, because if people can't understand what you do in a few seconds, something's wrong. So yeah, definitely. ask people, talk to them, and get people involved who have a key position in the company that are talking to customers. Especially when you're in a large company and you have a lot of designers and developers, they don't necessarily to your customers. So talking to customer success, talking to business development and sales is always helpful to understand what people are looking for and their main complaints. So yeah, definitely talking to customers is a huge part of what we do.
Yeah, definitely. That's a skill in itself, trying to get the customer service team on your side. Because what I've seen from experience is they're usually hesitant to speak their mind, just in case they offend the senior members of that organization. But yeah, you definitely want to engage your customer service teams, because they're the customer facing, and they know exactly what works and what doesn't.
Well, a recent book by the Eisenberg brothers, Brian and Jeff, is called BioLegends. It's a fantastic ebook. Guys, I'll send you a link in a minute on the Hangout and in Slack, that helps you build the BioLegends. And it's not exactly personas, it's a better way of defining what your customer story is. And what I've seen within the ebook, and we've used this before in the past few years, is getting everyone on board. Having someone from sales, having someone from management, having someone from business development, and from design, all pitch in and say who they think the customer is. And you can build a very interesting persona and type of customer and customer story by kind of getting everyone involved.
Cool. So Talia, it's time to pick the winner. Now, just before we go, so you mentioned Hotjar, and you mentioned Joanna Weeb's copy hacker ebooks as well. So Hotjar is a partner for Conversion World, so everyone who's attending Conversion World will be getting something special from Hotjar later on. So it's a good thing you mentioned them. And the other thing is, one of the other prizes we're offering is also Joanna Weeb's 7 ebook copy hacker bundle. There's 3 bundles going out. So it's not on this. It'll be given out during one of the sessions during the conference. But for this session, you get to pick the winner of the "You Should Test That" book by Chris Goward. So you can head over to Slack if you forgot who's asked what. Hang on, just a second. I need to do.
Is that in Conversion World 2015?
Yeah, it's in the 2015 one. Yeah, that's right. I need to do something first. Bear with me a second.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay. In the meanwhile, I'm going to give you a few other tools that I use. Envision, which is a great tool for collaborating on creative, either with your team or with your clients. We use it a lot to kind of comment on design and also kind of present stuff in an easy way without any development whatsoever. So it's a very, very cool product to use. What else? So I said BioLegends. Also, there's different books that you can read about emotional targeting, irrational behavior. I do a lot of sessions about emotional targeting and cognitive biases. So feel free to kind of go into our blog and check out the different posts. We have one thing I'm going to post in a minute is how color has an emotional effect on customers, and you can use that to kind of increase conversion rates. So I'm supposed to choose someone.
Yeah, wait just a second. There we go. Now you can choose someone.
Dum dum dum. I am gonna go for Bogdan, simply because, because it was a very interesting question. Not that anyone else wasn't. Oh, you put me in a very tough spot. But every question was really good. And guys, really tweet to me, ask me questions. I love answering them. Yeah, and if you have any questions, as I said, tweet, or you can add me on Facebook or whatever. And I'm going to add to Slack all these links that we were just talking about: conversion optimization, emotional targeting, color, psychology, how to build a strategy. Yeah, that's about it.
Perfect. So yeah, Conversion World starts tomorrow, guys, 2 p.m. UK time, and you can check whatever time in your time zone. But Talia, thank you so much for your time today. We're really happy to have you on, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Keep the conversation going on in Slack. You know, people will be there, so just feel free to join in the conversations.
Okay.
Perfect.
See you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.